Alright, so it has been a full year since the launch of the PlayStation VR. Now, this thing before it released had me worried because it's new tech, it could easily fail. But thankfully, a year later and over 100 games released later, this is easily one of the coolest peripherals ever released for a PlayStation. And honestly, whether it be this headset or any other VR headset, it's just cool to see that VR is here to stay. But yeah, in honor of the anniversary of this thing, I want to make a quick list. That list, of course, is the top 10 games for the PSVR. Now, before I start, I just want to clarify. These games must be games that were released mainly to play in VR, or could easily be games that were released prior, but were fully integrated to play in VR. So yeah, without further ado, let's get to it. Easily one of the best launch titles for the headset, this spin-off to the critically acclaimed Until Dawn puts the player in the seat of a roller coaster, along with akimbo pistols, and tasks them to survive through 7 different attractions from hell, each focusing on a different monster that is known to keep people up at night, with a gameplay style similar to that of a gun game at an arcade, but this time in a full 360 world. This game is sure to be a hit for newcomers and veterans of the platform looking for somewhat of a short but very entertaining game. Now, while it may not be one of the most realistic experiences, it very much nails the feeling of an amusement park ride that has gone terribly, terribly wrong. It's creepy, it's hectic, but overall, it's a damn fun time. A puzzle game in VR, how is this gonna work out? Wait, what the hell is this thing around my hands? Now, those are my exact first thoughts when first booting up this game. A very simple game when you think about it, but once you sit down and try to solve each puzzle, you will realize that they aren't messing around here. Now, you can make the argument that this game can be easily played without VR, but once you put on the headset and see that your hands are trapped in this mystery box, a layer of tension and a feeling of being trapped begins to wash over you. This game is a clear candidate for one of those escape room types of experiences, but all in the palm of your hands, literally. This game will force you to think, problem solve, and strategize as you try to free your hands, all for the sake of science. Oh yeah, and just the fact that you're doing this while in a lab being studied by scientists just adds to the overall vibe of uncertainty of the whole game. Now, while Star Trek is far from realistic, it does capture the essence of what it must feel like to be at the helm of a starship. There's no real thing to compare it to, but if you're a fan of the series or just a sci-fi fan in general, you do understand the concept of being part of a bridge crew. A huge spaceship requires more than one person to man different stations, and you will be filling one of those roles. With a surprising amount of content and different playstyles because of the positions, this is a great overall experience that's definitely worth your money. Now, this may seem kind of low on the list for some, but that's because this game may not be for everyone. Anyone looking for a great single-player experience, this is not it. This is a multiplayer game first and foremost. Space cadets and huge Trek fans will get the most bang for their buck here, but for anyone looking for a fantastic multiplayer VR experience where cooperation is the only way to prevail, well, you may want to consider joining Starfleet. Have you ever wondered what it would feel like to disarm a bomb? Well, in the real world it's not really like that, but what about disarming a bomb in a movie? Now, hold on to that thought, but now imagine you have absolutely no idea what you're doing and that the only people that can help you are your friends. Can you trust them to be as descriptive as possible, or are you royally screwed? Arguably one of the best party games for the PSVR, this game is a multiplayer experience only. One person has to defuse a very complicated looking bomb, while the others must go through document after document to help. Communication is key, and this will definitely test your patience and quick thinking ability. It's a very fast-paced game, and yet a very intricate puzzle game. It's fun, it's simple to understand, but most importantly, this game is a friendship ender. You know, like any great multiplayer game. Now, in this game, you are a member of a rebel group that must discover the secrets of a shady manufacturing company. But while you're behind enemy lines, you appear to trip the security system. What does this mean? Well, get ready to take on wave after wave of enemies. Yes, this is a Horde game. Now, while this is not a new concept at all, having this experience in VR is exhilarating, whether it be in solo play or taking on the Hordes with a full squad of 4. This game is definitely a thrill ride. Taking equal parts Time Crisis, Left 4 Dead, and Shadow Warrior, this has easily become a must-have title for any VR system. Not only that, but the amount of content here in this package will keep you coming back for more. Archery, swordplay, akimbo-style guns, or hell, even using a shotgun. This game has many different playstyles, and they all work amazingly in this Horde VR game. One of the first games of the year to push the envelope since the PlayStation VR's release. Not only is this game a decent FPS game in its own right, but what elevates this past the rest of the games before it is the included support for the aim controller. The first game developed with the controller in mind, it allows you to finally hold the game weapon in the real world, while also allowing for free movement with the included thumbsticks. Reminiscent of a light gun game in an arcade, but with far more freedom, this definitely kicks open a few doors. Yes, now while you can play with the DualShock 4, just playing like this just doesn't really separate it from the rest of the, FPS games out there. The only true way to experience this game is with this baby, standing up. Yes, I understand that's going to be very difficult for some people, but if you can do it, play this game standing up with this. You will be bobbing and weaving and hiding behind cover to avoid the onslaught of enemies. This game is just filled with moments of heart-pumping action, and while the, 5 to 6 hour campaign may not be a lot for some, but it is in the case for a VR game, well, it also has a co-op mode that allows you to team up with a fellow astronaut to take on hordes of creatures. All in all, this bundle is a must-have for the PSVR. And if you're worried that the aim controller was built for only one game, rest assured that more games are coming out for this glorious peripheral. Out of the handful of VR racing games that have been released on the PS4, this is definitely the best of the bunch. While it is debatable whether Dirt Rally is the best car game of the PlayStation 4 in general, there is no denying that it's easily the best rally car simulator in years. And being fully playable in VR is just the icing on the cake. Tight controls, full rich 3D sound, hard as nails learning curve that feels more rewarding than frustrating, and full racing wheel support, making this one of the most realistic experiences released on the system. The only issue that can be said about this game is the difference in graphic fidelity between the VR mode and the regular game. But whether you have the upgraded Pro version or just the original PS4, the graphics never really deter from the overall immersion. The PSVR needs more realistic simulator type games, and this is a perfect example of why that is. Now, whether you enjoyed this game on the PS2 or the original version on the Dreamcast, you should know why this game is on here. If you don't, well, allow me to enlighten you. One of the granddaddies in rhythm gaming, it's a game like no other that makes the player create the beat of the music by shooting down enemies in a wireframe-styled world. That is basically it. Yes, it sounds very simplistic and a little weird, but once you start getting into it, you begin to enter a trance-like state. The visuals, the music, and the addictive gameplay just suck you right in, and once it has you in its hooks, you don't want to leave. Maybe it's honestly meant to hypnotize you, or just simply relax you, but in the end, it's an experience you're glad you took, and you will definitely want to do again. Now, this game can be played without VR, whether it be with this new remastered version, or one of the original versions, but to be quite honest, once you do play it in VR, you can't go back to the 2D version. It's an iconic game by itself, but now that it's in VR, it's easily become one of the best VR games ever made. Now, when this game first came out, this idea was really unique. A shooter with a cool game mechanic that made time progress only when you moved, turning this into more of a puzzle strategy game as you timed and dodged incoming bullets and projectiles. So, what more could you add to it to make it even more immersive? VR, of course. Like a match made in heaven, once this game was released on all VR platforms, this game was escalated from one of the coolest indie titles in years to a must-have virtual reality experience. Simple controls, gameplay ripped straight from a John Woo film, and a clean art style that just adds to the overall aesthetic easily heightens this game to a perfect experience. Even if you've already completed this game normally, this easily warrants a second run through in VR. I mean, once you kill a foe and catch his gun in midair and use it against another enemy, well, let's just say you'll understand why VR is such a cool concept, to be able to do things that we thought were impossible in the real world.
Yes!
Now, I have already previously reviewed this game, so if you want a more in-depth look, check that out. But for now, I'll be brief. First off, this game is not only a fantastic VR game, but the fact that it's a return to form for a series that started to get really stale just makes it one of the best surprises of this year. The game has it all. Solid story, gameplay that is a perfect mix of the classic RE games and modern shooters. The return of survival horror aspects, amazing atmosphere, and a perfect implementation of virtual reality, allowing the whole game to be played in VR, makes it the quintessential game to own a VR headset. Ask almost any VR aficionado and they will tell you since the game is released, it raised the bar for VR gaming. And few, if any, have come close to reaching the same level this game has. And just to wrap up how great this game is not only a PSVR exclusive. Starting 2018, this game will be available in VR for PC owners as well. Bottom line, it's Resident Evil in VR. A phrase I never thought I would utter, and yet, here it is. Well, that's the list, and now, some honorable mentions. Now, the first one up is definitely a game that I wanted to include in this list, but I couldn't because it's not a full experience or a full game. And it's, of course, the Battlefront Rogue One X-Wing mission. It is just easily one of the greatest experiences in VR, period. Whether it be on the PSVR or any VR headset, it is just phenomenal. But I just sadly could not include it in this list. Next up, Starblood Arena. A fantastic little arena-based shooter. It's disorienting, but it's just so much fun. Thumper. Thumper is a rhythm game, but it's just elevated by how amazing the visuals are. Next up, REZ, a mech sports game. This one is just tons of fun and honestly just such a revolutionary kind of, gameplay style because it's completely original. It's a completely original idea and it just works so well in VR. On top of that, it's also a pretty lengthy one. Not like the next one I'll mention, which is Batman VR. Batman VR is a fantastic experience, a great game, but for its launch price at $20, it's only an hour long, which is detrimental to its overall enjoyability. There's really no, replayability to it either because it's just the one experience and that's it. Next up, Valkyrie. Valkyrie is a great simulator. Space shooter, you go around, you're in the cockpit and it just feels great. The only problem is that it just feels very bare bones. It could have easily had more, and thankfully there's DLC coming out for it, but it's still just, I just really want a game that has much more meat to it. It's a great game, don't get me wrong, but it just needs more. And of course, the final one, and this is a free game, Playroom VR. This is an essential. If you own a PSVR, you should definitely download the Playroom VR off the PSN store because it is just a simple little, game. It has multiple games, but it's just simple. It's straightforward, but it has so many different game modes that allows you to play by yourself in VR or with a room full of friends, and you could all experience it. It's just tons and tons of fun. But yeah, that's pretty much it. If there is a game that really wanted to have in this list, and you want to tell me about it, please tell me in the comments. But for now, this is what I feel is like the quintessential lineup of the PSVR so far. And you know what? I'm really glad that, right now I'm just like, these are the best games, done. No. At the time of this video, I'm looking forward to playing games like The Impatient, Bravo Team, Skyrim VR, Doom VFR. This thing is nowhere near done. I mean, with most peripherals, for example, like this thing crashed and burned. The Kinect crashed and burned. You can't really see it, but I'm pointing it over here. But this thing, a year later, and it's still going strong. To the point where they had to revive these damn things to work with this, which surprisingly they do work well. But the PSVR is easily becoming one of the best peripherals for the PlayStation, and definitely, you know, it's a definite step up for just gaming in general. And if you don't believe me, try it out for yourself. If you didn't like it, that's completely fine. But if you haven't tried this thing at all and you feel like it's a waste of time, please do yourself a favor and at least try it once. Because if you do enjoy it, I guarantee that it will change the way you look at gaming and pretty much all entertainment in general. Because once we start putting ourselves in the actual medium, that's just opening up so many doors to just cooler and inventive new experiences. But yeah, I don't know what all that was about. But yeah, that's the video. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys later.